2. Hello, everybody. Sean Davis here for the Raptors Nation, your home for everything Raptors. The Raptors coming off a brutal loss where they led, I think, the entire way, if not the entire way, definitely most of the game. And in the last few moments, Jokic got things going a little bit. Jamal Murray knocked down some big shots. Scotty Barnes probably had the worst ejection in NBA history, so bad that the other two officials were just as confused as we fans were. We're going to talk about all that. A quick reminder, please do subscribe right here to the Raptors Nation podcast on the YouTube side and over on podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and review on podcast and hit that post notification bell over on the YouTube side. It's the easiest way to help out the show. Joining me, as always, for the pod, Luca Rosano. Luca, how you feeling, man? I think I texted you last night that I was a little frustrated. That's not why we didn't record last night. I had some city issues or whatever. But I was very irritated about the Scotty Barnes ejection. How are you feeling 24 hours later?
Yeah, still hasn't settled in. That was, like you said, one of the worst technical ejections, period, and just one of the worst calls in general. I mean, we can go on and on and on about what happened. I've given my take a million times now since that incident happened. But yeah, just in short, I mean, it's a call that should have never been called. In the heat of the moment, you got two teams going at it. The competitive levels are at an all-time high. Emotions are at an all-time high. You let that go on. Now, I know Scotty Barnes, it was later revealed that he said something along the lines of, like, this is, y'all are cheating, bro. I think that was the right quote. So, obviously, Scott Foster took offense to that. And then that's why he put out in his report that the reason why he ejected Scotty Barnes is because he made a remark that, struck the integrity of the officials. I get all that, but at the same time, Sean, I mean, all these players are always bickering and complaining about calls. So if you're going to start nitpicking every little thing that's said when a call doesn't go a player's way, then you're going to eject everybody who complains for calls. So I think in the heat of the moment, it should have just been a no call. Scott Foster should have let these guys play on. If you're going to call the foul on Pirtle, fine, leave it at that. But then to eject Scotty Barnes, you award the Nuggets another free throw. At that point, the game was already, lost in the sense where all the momentum went on the Nuggets side.
It was a 1-point game. So in a 1-point game, they're shooting free throws. Let's say they make both of them. Sorry to cut you off, Luca. They make both of them. It's a 3-point game, but now you get technical free throws plus the actual free throws. Yeah, but go ahead. Sorry.
And here's the thing too, like the foul on Pirtle was even a bad call because you play that play back. I mean, these guys were physical with each other all night, so he was letting a lot of those plays, get away and not call them. So then he calls that there. You award the free throws, and then on top of that, you eject Barnes. You give him another free throw. And then you got a Raptors team that point on. You're demoralized. You're down by 5, and you knew the game was done at that point. So it's just frustrating, Sean, because the Raptors played probably their best game of the season, really. I mean, they led after every single quarter.
Yeah.
And, the Nuggets got their first lead. I think it was late in the third, but the Raptors led after every single quarter. They went into the fourth. They carried a 6-point lead into the final 3 minutes. I was sitting there watching this game. Like the Raptors are about to win this game and get their biggest win of the season. That's going to instantly turn their season around. I was ready to do a pod, talking about how that was the game, the win that saved the Raptors season. And here we are, though, talking about how a great game was spoiled by a very, very questionable call. I mean, that was an egregious call. It should have never been called. And the Raptors are definitely letting Scott Foster know what they feel about him on Twitter.
2 things really, really quickly. One, he never had a tech. He hadn't already had a tech in the game. Is that? I just want to make sure my facts are correct, right? He didn't have a technical foul before then, right?
No, I believe, that's that he didn't have a technical foul before that. Yeah, it all happened in that play.
My question is, why does it immediately? Unless it gets physical, why should it ever escalate to automatic ejection? That should never be the case, first off. Second off, following up with that point, like you said, in the heat of the moment, also, Scott Foster, you have beef with Chris Paul, one of the most notorious trash talkers of all time. You tell me you haven't heard worse, not only from other NBA players, but from Chris Paul? You haven't heard you're telling me you've never heard worse than y'all cheating, bro. Like, come on, that's so. I want to say something I shouldn't say. That's so like bad. And then my last point, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, and this is more like I can relate to it as a coach or whatever. My biggest thing with referees, I get it, it's a very tough job, frustrating at times. My only request ever as a coach, I'm sure a lot of coaches agree, is even like an analyst, or I'm sure you would agree, is that you just keep it consistent for the whole 48 minutes. That's all I ask. If you're going to let things go, let it go for the entire 48 minutes. Don't choke on your whistle or whatever for the final, whatever. Keep it the exact same. If you're going to call every ticky-tacky foul, I want every single ticky-tacky foul called the entire 48 minutes. Because then when you change something up, that's most of the times when you see coaches like really get frustrated at referees, it's mostly because you call ticky-tacky foul, ticky-tacky foul, ticky-tacky foul. Okay, now after the third one, I'm like, okay, this is that type of game, right? The fourth one, you don't call, right? Or in a pivotal moment, you're like, oh, well, now I'm going to let that one play. No, you just let this play for 47 and a half minutes. Why? Because it's the last 30 seconds, you're going to let it go. That's my biggest frustration with the refs. So, yeah, even like me watching, I was like, okay, maybe in some, like if it's that kind of game, I get it, sort of. I wouldn't have called it personally because there's so many calls, especially like you said, time and place was like 35 seconds left. They hold a 1-point lead. You kind of bailed the Nuggets out too because that was a terrible offensive possession by them. So personally, I would have called him like, yeah, okay, if it's that kind of game. But yeah, so there's my side of like area on my frustration. Scott Foster, you've heard worse than that. And like, come on, you got to keep it consistent for 48 minutes. And why are we automatically going straight for an ejection? That's where my frustration.
The thing that was really, really bad. And I mean, you know what's bad when not just Raptors fans are complaining about how bad of a call that was. I mean, every other fan base weighed in, it seemed, and they agreed. I mean, you had guys like Bill Simmons even saying how Scott Foster is notorious for these types of performances where he just F's over one team. And it's true. I mean, you look at his track record, that's the thing that is just mind-boggling. It's like, how is this guy even still officiating? Like, he clearly has agendas that he, goes into these games, and we've seen it time and time before, Sean. I mean, he literally can dictate the entire outcome of a game with his whistle, and he is good. He was good friends with Donaghy, back in the day. They did their thing. Obviously, I don't want to get too much into that, but we already know how that ended if you go watch the documentary. But having him in these games, and just seeing what he's done to the likes of Chris Paul over the years.
I was just about to say, like, isn't it a stat or whatever that Chris Paul, I'm sure it's not every game ever, but is it like every postseason game ever? Chris Paul's never won a game.
Yeah, I think that's still valid. I don't think, I think he's literally 0-4 in the playoffs every time Scott Foster officiates his game. So when you look at things like that, I mean, it is ridiculous. And it's just very unfortunate, man, because that was a great game, went down to the wire, under 30 seconds to go, 1-point game. Even Nick Nurse said, I didn't see a whole lot there. What a way to ruin a great competitive game that would have went down to the wire. And the Nuggets escape. Look, you got to give the Nuggets credit too, because obviously it wasn't just that one call. Jamal Murray was hot late. He hit a big three when the Raptors were up by 6. If Jamal Murray doesn't hit that three, the Raptors win that game. Like, that was such a big three by Jamal Murray, because then after that, Murray cut into the lane. He scored a layup that made it 1, but then the Scott Foster masterclass happened where he overturned the foul on Scotty Barnes, which then led to the jump ball. The Nuggets win the jump with Jokic, and then that same possession, the foul happens, and then the ejection, and then you knew at that point the Raptors are toast.
Yeah, Jamal Murray, 24 points, 5 assists. I'm just, as a basketball fan, I can't wait to see Jamal Murray back in the playoff setting. Last time you saw Jamal in the playoffs was like the bubble, and we remember how God, has it really been that long? Has he really been hurt this long?
That's why the Nuggets are legit in a lot of people's eyes, right? The last time Jamal Murray played at this high of a level was the bubble, and the Nuggets made it to the Western Conference Finals before falling to the Lakers. So I think he's the key. And I think when Jamal Murray plays as he did in late game situations, like he showed us versus the Raptors, the Nuggets become that much more dangerous. But I also want to say this, Michael Porter Jr., I didn't realize how much of an improved three-point shot he had. Like, this dude was lights out from three.
Yeah,
And
he's a
as a
legit
whole,
sharpshooter now.
he's been shooting the lights out. And yeah, he is a sharpshooter now. So, I mean, those two guys in particular elevating their game, there's a reason why the Nuggets aren't first in the West and have the best home record.
Yeah, Michael Porter Jr. shooting around 41% from three this season. Jamal Murray just under 40%. So when your starting point guard is a borderline elite three-point shooter and one of your wings are and then they have KCP too. Can't forget KCP, who I think is at 44% from three. So you got three guys around Jokic. If it's not 43, it's something high. Hold on. KCP, while that's loading or whatever. You got three guys, three starters you're surrounding Jokic with that are 44.3% KCP, like 39.5, 39.4 for Jamal Murray, and then like 41.4 for Michael Porter Jr. You have three elite shooters next to Nikola Jokic, who is definitely, I don't want to talk about it because it's very controversial right now because of certain media members, but one of the front runners for the MVP, if not the MVP.
Yeah, I think he's the MVP. But yeah, well, we could get into that on another podcast. One more point I want to make before we kind of jump here to look at the Raptors' next couple of games. So the Raptors played really, really well, right? I just hope coming out of this, the ending of the game doesn't negatively impact them going into these other games, because like it's twofold, right? Raptors win this game. That's a massive win. You have so much momentum now going for you the rest of the West Coast trip, and a part of this entire gauntlet that we've been talking about is going to make or break the Raptors. Whereas you lose a game that you played next to perfect, you just couldn't close it out. I hope that doesn't sting the Raptors where they come out flat in the next game and then the game after that, because it's not like they're facing scrub teams coming up. It's not like they're taking on the Wizards again or the Hornets. They're taking on the Clippers, who finally got a win with Westbrook, so they're going to be feeling good about that. They're taking on your Lakers on Friday, a much improved Lakers team. So I just hope the Raptors can take the positives from this one and just move on and just forget about what happened. And speaking of the positives, just want to quickly highlight some of them. Jakob Poeltl, another great game. He's been so good for the Raptors. You look at Fred VanVleet, he had a great game as well. I thought the Raptors did a terrific job on Jokic. I know Jokic was, I think, like an assist away from a triple-double, but he had a very quiet game, in my opinion. Raptors really neutralized them. They threw Poeltl at him, OG. Scotty Barnes, had some time with Jokic as well. So that was definitely great to see. I think the Raptors got to just continue to fuel their guys. Hopefully Siakam can get it going a little bit more. I feel like he missed a couple of easy shots in this one, and they got to limit their turnovers. Aside from that, I love their energy in this one. They were laser focused. They were locked in. So I really hope this carries into Wednesday now.
Yeah, and you almost beat probably the second best team in basketball right now, if not the best team in basketball, on another quote-unquote off night scoring-wise from your best player. I mean, Fred VanVleet was spectacular, 21 points, 14 assists. Relatively, I mean, this wasn't the most efficient game, but so far in the month of March, 3 games sample. So let's just go last 3 games instead of saying the month of March, or like 8 days in. 20 points and 10.3 assists per game, 42% from the floor, 35.5% from three. So for Fred VanVleet, I'm more so impressed by the assist numbers, so I'm being quite honest with you. And only about 2.5 assists, just under 2.5 assists per game as well. Freddie has been great. He's been phenomenal over this recent stretch of games. So hopefully that can continue, because like you said, the Clippers game, to time of this recording tonight, actually. Is that tonight? Yeah, tonight. So tonight against the Clippers, we're going to dive into all of that. Playing against Kawhi Leonard playing against his former team. Norman Powell is reportedly going to be listed as out for this game, so the Raptors won't get to play Norman Powell. The last time those two teams faced off, it led to a Clippers win in Toronto, 124-113. Siakam, per the usual, spectacular, right? 36 points in the last game against the Clippers, but a really rough third quarter. They lost the third quarter by 11 after going into halftime down 4. And so Gary Trent Jr. last time he had 20, but no, this was without Precious. And Malachi Flynn was playing 26 minutes, right? And Juancho Herman-Gomez started. So a very different Raptors team. And I think some ways you could say a very different Clippers team too, good for the good and for the bad. Luca, what should we be looking forward to heading into tonight's matchup with the Clippers?
I think Siakam has to have a big game. I mean, I would argue if Siakam had made a couple of makeable baskets that he normally makes, the Raptors win that game with relatively ease against the Nuggets. I mean, I can count at least 3 times in my head that Siakam should have made, bunnies that he normally makes around the rim. So I'm looking for Siakam to have close to that 30-point mark in this Clippers game in particular. And this is a Pascal Siakam who he's no stranger from playing very well in California. And now you're going to be taking on back-to-back LA teams. This is Pascal Siakam time. He's got to, make sure that he is the best player for the Raptors in this game. He's got to look to find his offense early. And the Raptors just got to continue to get the solid productions from the likes of, I thought Fred VanVleet was really, really good. They need something similar in this one. Fred VanVleet was not only getting his shot to fall, but I liked how he was finding his teammates. And he was the facilitator, Fred, that we've spoke so many times on the show he needs to be for the Raptors to be successful. And again, it's going to come down to one of the other guys stepping up, right? We always talk about on the show Siakam having the best game, but then you need at least 2 other guys to come in with solid contributions. So if Siakam could get his going, Fred continues what he's been doing, and then you get at least an OG, a Gary Trent Jr., or Scotty Barnes who can have an impactful game. The Raptors should be able to make this game competitive, no doubt about it. I mean, you look at the Clippers, they've been on the decline a little bit. This is a team that I've been high on all season. I said they were going to make it to the NBA Finals. That was my pick, but you look at this team the last couple of games, even in that come from behind win against the Grizzlies, there's been nothing there that suggests that this team is turning the corner for a right reason. I mean, this is a team that has been playing sloppy basketball. They've lost, 5 of their last 6 games, and they did not look good in their last 2 games. The blowout loss against the Warriors, they look lifeless. They look lifeless through 3 quarters against the Grizzlies. So we know you can't do that against this Raptors team. If the Clippers come out with the same effort they did in the Grizzlies game versus the Raptors, if the Raptors can play as they did against the Nuggets, laser focused and sharp, this is going to be advantage Raptors. So I think the Clippers really need to come out with that sense of urgency, and they cannot take the Raptors lightly, because if you do, I think the Raptors will have some success there. So I think Siakam needs to have a big game, though. I'm looking for Siakam to, like I said, get around that 30-point mark. I think he needs to hit that in order for the Raptors to sneak away with a win. So should be an interesting game. But the Raptors, they're going to need this game. This is going to be a huge game for them to get, because I'm not feeling as confident going into the Lakers matchup, just because the Lakers have been on the, they've been on the rise compared to this Clippers team. So the Raptors got to win this one, because if the Raptors lose this game, and even worse, they look bad, then you got to go into, or you got to, stay in LA and take on the Lakers, and you have a chance now to possibly fall 0-3 before you continue on this brutal gauntlet. It's not going to look good for the Raptors. But remember, they need to win these games. Right now, they're in the play-in. There's no guarantees that this team is going to stay in the play-in or even make the playoffs, and they're 2 games under 500. So things could get ugly real quick. They definitely need a win against the Clippers on Wednesday night.
A couple of stats for you about Pascal Siakam. This is only the second time this season where Pascal Siakam has had 3 consecutive games with under 20 or more points. He had 13 the first game against the Wizards, 15 the second game against Wizards, and 19 last night at the time of this recording against the Denver Nuggets. The only other time this season where we had 3 straight games, not consecutive, but 3 straight games, not like back-to-back, but 3 straight, my bad, trying to make sure my wording is right. 3 straight games of under 20 or more points was against the Orlando Magic from December 11th, and wrapping up with the Brooklyn Nets on December 16th. That was in the midst of a 3-game losing streak against the Magic, Kings, and Nets. And last stat regarding that, Pascal Siakam, the Raptors rather, in games where Pascal has less than 20 points, they are 3-14 in games where Siakam does not score at least 20 points. And then last thing about those back-to-back stretches of games where Siakam, or 3 straight game stretches where Siakam had less than 20. Not one of those games does Siakam take 20 shots. The most shots he took in one of those games was 19, and that only happened once. He only took 10 shots one time, and that was against the Wizards. So he had more games where he shot 10 shots or less than he did where he took at least 20 shots. So Siakam has to be aggressive and assert himself early. And yeah, the Raptors are going to need it heading into that game. This is the last pod before so we won't talk about the Lakers game. And this will be the last pod before the Lakers game. So let's preview that game really, really quickly. Luca, how do you think the Raptors match up with the Lakers? The Lakers should have D'Angelo Russell back for Friday night's game with the Raptors. And, Anthony Davis has just been phenomenal over this recent stretch of games. Talk about somebody being assertive, asserting their will. In the last 10, Anthony Davis, just under 26 points, 13 boards, 2.5 blocks, 2.5 steals roughly, on 51% shooting as well. How do the Raptors match up with the Lakers, Luca?
I mean, that's who scares me. It's Anthony Davis. How are the Raptors going to try to slow down AD, who, like you said, Sean, is on an absolute tear, and he's needed to be this good for the Lakers to survive this stretch with all LeBron. LeBron's not going to be going in this one, but that's huge, getting D'Angelo Russell back. You're going to have now another instant scorer come onto this team. So you're going to have AD, who's been playing at all-time high level. You're going to have, D'Lo into the mix, and the Lakers just, they've looked so good since they picked up these new pieces. And this team is just gelling so well. And you can tell the continuity out there is just at an all-time high. You got Jared Vanderbilt, who's been, one of the better defenders in the league. Schroeder's capable of going off. So the Lakers, this is not something that you were able to say about them too long ago, but they actually have nice depth. I mean, they got multiple guys who can be difference makers in this game. And the Raptors, I think they're going to have a tough time with AD. Now, look for Nick Nurse to try to do whatever it takes to slow him down and let everybody else try to beat him. But I think this is going to be a very tight contest, and the Raptors are definitely going to need Pascal Siakam to have a typical Pascal Siakam performance, because if not, they're going to have their work cut out for them. The Lakers are not playing any games, and this is a massive game for them as well, which is important to know. The Raptors are not going to be the only desperate team in this one. It's going to be the Lakers, because the Lakers are trying to get into the top 6, which right now they have a better chance of getting to the top 6 than the Raptors. So the Lakers, I think they're going to be ready to play in this one. I would like the Raptors to get at least one of these next two. And like I said, I think they have a better chance beating the Clippers than the Lakers.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. Very, very interesting indeed. Well, Raptors Nation, thank you all as always for tuning in. And make sure you guys leave a comment down below. What will the Raptors record be after these 2 games in Los Angeles? And how frustrated are you after the Raptors' brutal loss to the Denver Nuggets? Comment down below. As always, leave a like and share. Stay safe, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.